Noah Willis Bartholomew. He was born April the 1st, 1808, in Dearden, New York, and died August the 1st, 1876, in Fillmore, Utah. He married Miranda Catlin in 1828 in Java County, New York. Their children were Emily, George, Lewis, Nelson, Willis, Lyman, and Miranda. He later married Mary Altaina Catlin, a sister of his first wife, while crossing the plains. Their ceremony was performed by Heber C. Kimball. Their children were Matilda, Edwin, Noah, Laura, and Don. In 1849, Parley P. Pratt led an exploration party to southern Utah. Noah Bartholomew was a member of this party. On the return trip, part of the exploration party was compelled to establish a camp on the east ridge of the Pavent Valley, for the snow was too deep to travel further. Some of the strongest horses continued to Salt Lake City, but the rest remained until March. Their camp was on a little stream called Chalk Creek, which is in the present site of Fillmore, Utah. They were the first men to live at this place. In 1851, Noah Bartholomew came with 12 other families and his own to settle Fillmore. The four wings of the State House were laid out at the center of the town square in 1851. That evening, a meeting was called at which Brigham Young proposed that Anderson Cole be called to be the judge, Indian agent, and presiding elder over the little colony. Noah Willis Bartholomew was the bishop of Fillmore, Utah. That was on Sunday, November the 2nd. The whole camp came and held religious services in the tent of Bishop Bartholomew. About a week after, Apostle George Albert Smith came to Fillmore on his return trip from the little Salt Lake, now called Parowan. While in Fillmore, he rebaptized Bishop Bartholomew and his family and reconfirmed them, which seemed to be the church ruling. For later, all new settlers were asked to be rebaptized and reconfirmed. In 1855, he built a brick home on the hillside on the east side of Main Street, between 1st and 2nd North. Henry Faust made the brick, the first made west of the Missouri River. The basement and huge stone ovens were made out of sandstone. The floor of the house had 8 rooms, and the upper rooms had 4 rooms. The home was modeled like a ship, with a long hall extending the entire length of the building, with rooms on each side. Each room had a brick fireplace. Noah Bartholomew and his wives kept lodgers in the large brick home. Later it was used as a motel. The Bartholomews also built an adobe mill east of the house, which was used for grinding flour. In 1864, Noah attached a carding mill to this flour mill for carding wool and rolling it into bundles from which the women could spin and weave it into needed clothing. We are proud of the strength and character of that prompted them to build a school and meeting house before they even built the homes for themselves. The school building was built of cottonwood logs with dirt roof and no floor. Seats were logs from planks nailed on them at convenient distances, not only to sit up, but to keep the logs from rolling. The fireplace was in the middle of the room. Samuel Holt wrote a letter to George Albert Smith in 1851. It says, "We are all well, and we still live in our wagons. We have got the road made to the canyon, and we have nearly logged." About a week after the church services, Apostle George Albert Smith came to Fillmore, and on his way to Parowan, he asked the settlers for a detailed account of what resources were in the valley and the surrounding hills. They told him the soil was rich but hard, dry and very rocky. Orange Warner and Chandler Holbrook reported they had found good timber higher up in the canyon, but the season was so far advanced that snow would soon be deep in the mountains and it would be too late to make roads in the canyon. But cottonwood logs were plentiful. Josiah Call said they were stage hen, ducks, sloth, wild dove, and plenty of rabbits, and he'd seen tracks of black-tailed deer. Apostle Smith wittily asked if he could tell the color of the deers by their tracks. In January of 1852, Bartholomew and Judge Anderson Call welcomed 52 new members into the community. Some of them did. Andrew Henry, a carpenter, came to work on the soon-to-be-built State House. A party was given in Meeting House and for everyone to celebrate the coming of the immigrants. There was not too much in the way of refreshments, but that didn't dampen the spirits of the enthusiastic welcome, who sang and danced until midnight. Josiah Call was the brother of Anderson Call, and to him his wife was Harriet. Was born the first white child, January 28, 1852. They named her Columbia Fillmore Call. The first Thanksgiving Day in Fillmore with Bishop Noah Bartholomew was November 1852 in the small pioneer town of Fillmore, Utah. The day dawn was fair and frosty over the eastern mountains. A few pink flushed clouds floated over Mount Catherine and Mount Pioneer, seeming as an omen of a good day. Smoke spiraled straight into the air above each tent, shanty and log cabins. There was an unusual activity in the fort as men went about whistling at their daily tasks and caring for the cattle and horses. About 11 o'clock, both men and children and women began leaving their homes carrying various kettles, pans, and other cooking utensils, making their way to the meeting house. The men made the tables out of planks set up on barrels. A few seats were made in the same manner. The smell of food began to drift through the curious group of children who ran back and forth, either helping or hindering their elders. When food was piled high on the tables, everyone was told to stand and clasp hands and bow their heads, while Bishop Noah Bartholomew gave prayer for thanks for the bounteous harvest and the safe arrival of the new families such as the Melvilles. The warmth of the welcome, the good hot vegetables, meat, and all the sweets that only their dear pioneer women knew how to make out of practically nothing, made them forget their hardships of their life and their long journey across the plains. They all joined in singing hymns of praise, and even the Indians standing underneath the nearby cottonwood trees surely joined into the happy spirit of the occasion. Nor had the red men been forgotten by their white brothers and sisters in the fort. For them, 2 wooden V-troughs had been fashioned near the west side of the meeting house. These were filled with hot gravy, mush made of bran, scraps of meat, and vegetables. The Indians, kneeling at each side of the trough, scooped the oozing mixture into their mouths with their hands. Chief Kanash was given food served in a large wooden bowl. It was food he could eat with his hands, but he surprised everyone by using a knife and a spoon almost as well as the whites. Only the chief and his brother were clothed in dress of the white settlers. Almost the first gift Brigham Young had given Chief Kanash were trousers, a breadcloth, and a homespun shirt, which he wore proudly under the bright blanket. The other members of the tribe were scantily dressed, but all had some kind of blanket to protect them from the cold November air. In the afternoon, games and wrestles and races began. Here again the Indians joined the fun and even accelerated in some of the other sports. One of the last events of the day was a wrestling match between Orange Warner and Young Buck, who was chosen by the Indians. Orange had a friendly, winning grin, which crinkled at the corners of his mouth, stretched wide sideways. When he grinned, as when he did, he shook hands with his opponents, and he used his whole face. It went well with the trowel's sandy hair and lanky 6 foot and more of height. Dressed in gray homespun trousers and shirt, rough frontier boots, the wrestlers paired, strained, and tugged for long as the crowd was interested. The contest was well matched. Warner has size and strength, which was met with cat-like swiftness. with each side cheering when the man was on top. Bishop Noah Willis and Chief Kanash finally shook hands and told the rest to stop. It was time for the settlers to start chores. The day closed with prayer and the grateful feeling that the whites and the Indians were friends.